Well, we are slowly recovering, but there is still a lot to come. Not so much the weather, but the cleanup and getting everything back to normal down here in Texas. It is horrible. We still without water. Don't know when it's gonna come back, when it's gonna thaw up. Probably sometime next week when we are going to have almost 70 degrees. Then we might have a chance, or we might have broken pipes. We don't know yet. We will have to see. So this is actually for all Americans, especially the liberals, because they don't seem to understand what the Constitution is all about. So the gun control debate isn't really about guns. It's about human rights. It isn't just about my gun. It's about every single individual's fundamental right to liberty. This is written by law attorney Jenna Ellis. And it's a fair question that I and millions of my fellow conservatives have been asked repeatedly since the Florida school shooting. Why do conservatives care so much about their guns? Most liberals who have asked me have done so out of sincere confusion, justifiable anger even, about the senseless death at the hands of school shooters since Columbine. They are asking in good faith and sincere desire to prevent future mass shootings. Well, let me inject something here. We cannot, and I repeat, we cannot prevent something like that unless we really keep an eye on each other and, in a good faith, not as a snitch, but, if you see something unusual, you hear something unusual for somebody who is uttering desire to do something that is heinous, even deadly to other people, well, that might be a good reason to react to that. Absolutely. So colleagues of mine have done an excellent job responding to the argument about whether gun control would be effective. What might legislative look like, whether it's constitutional, and answering a variety of political questions. And still the debate rages on. And it will continue to rage as long as these kind of horrific acts of violence continue to happen. You see, we can do all the gun control we want to. The criminal is not going to give up his gun, and the criminal is always going to use the gun or something else, weapons, to get his way. That's just how it is. Whatever it takes. So, what I want to answer is fundamental question. Why do conservatives care so much about our guns? Liberals seem to think we care because it's our right, or merely because of the Second Amendment, but isn't the primary driver behind our thinking. If it were, liberals might reasonably conclude that we don't care and rightly feel they hold the moral high ground. Their position is that safe schools should be valued over my gun. But it isn't just about my right to keep and bear arms. Whatever you may think that phrase written to the Constitution in 1791 means in 2018. This is from 2018, so this is an older article, but this still stands. Fundamentally, it's about the government responsibility to prove that I have committed a crime before taking away my rights. Let me explain. The Second Amendment must be read in context to the entire law and the acknowledgement in the Declaration of Independence that our rights are pre-political, that our rights predate the Constitution, and are therefore not granted by government as merely privileges bestowed upon worthy individuals who satisfy some kind of government standard. Our government does not have rights. Our government has limited powers, checks and balances, carefully and specifically granted through the Constitution for the sole purpose of preserving and protecting all of the rights of the individual. What can the government constitutionally presume about me if I want to own a firearm? Those burden is to show that I should or should not be able to possess a firearm. And here we talk about H.R. 127. This is ridiculous. And this is a violation of the Second Amendment right there. H.R. 127. It is. You just have to realize it is. This is why the whole Constitution matters, and it matters in relation to the Declaration, because you and my rights are pre-political. The government bears the burden of proving why I'm unfit owner, or gun owner, and an unfit parent, or have committed a criminal act or any other accusation bearing legal consequences when my rights are at stake. Yeah, they must prove you guilty. Right? You're innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. The government must presume that I am fully fit citizens, meaning in legal terms that none of my rights can legally or properly be infringed upon unless and until the government shows proof by legal standard that I have acted in some way contrary to the law, and the sanctions for my actions can result in government denying certain rights, such as taking away liberty through imprisonment. The government cannot presume that I am going to act in an illegal manner just because my neighbor, my relative, or my 90-year-old in Parkland, Florida acted in a legal manner. We care about our government is allowed to treat us based on someone else's actions. Each and every one have the right to be presumed competent, fit, and innocent. This is the heart of the matter for conservatives. Even if the Second Amendment were to be repealed tomorrow and have some suggested and called for, nothing about my legal status and law-abiding citizen would change. The government would not be able to change its legal presumption towards me and assume that I'm a criminal before I commit criminal acts. True. Once the government can shift the burden and make me prove my fitness competency, then my government is treating me like a presumptive criminal. This isn't problematic only when applied to arms ownership. It is also problematic when applied to parental fitness, exercising religious freedoms of freedom, speech, school choice options, economical choices, and other legitimate actions and choice that I, as an American citizen, am free and have the liberty to choose to do. None of these rights or any other individual are severable from their status as unalienable and transformative by government whim into mere privileges. This is what conservatives mean by protecting liberty. We are preserving freedom from the government, presuming that we do not have legitimate free choice without the government, presuming without cause that we are all criminals. And this is exactly what the Democrats are doing. They are seeing us as criminals. Even you liberals who has voted for them, you are criminals in their eyes. They are presuming that you are going to do something against them. Not against your fellow citizens, but they are afraid of you. And this is why they want all these draconian laws, such as the H.R. 127, which is illegal, per definition. Illegal. Liberty means that the government does not have the authority to punish me before I have chosen to act contrary to law. The government does have legitimate authority to criminalize some conduct, but must prove that I have committed that criminal act before it may punish me. Exactly. Even in the midst of heartbreaking, terrible atrocious tragedies, we cannot allow the government to remove our individual presumption of innocence collectively. Crimes and illegal acts unfortunately occur every day. So do wrongful persecutions. Just because my neighbor might have and have committed domestic violence doesn't mean I should have to prove to the government that I'm not an abuser before I enter into a romantic relationship. Just because my neighbor might have committed child abuse doesn't mean that I have to prove to the government that I am fit to be parent before I'm allowed to have children. You see what I'm talking about here, what she's talking about. He's putting the head on the nail on this. The examples are endless. Any presumption against innocence is fully unconstitutional for an incredibly important reason: preserving and protecting genuine liberty. Rights are not absolute, but a legitimate government does not punish you or me before we act or presume that we are going to act criminally. This isn't just about my gun. It's about every single individual fundamental right to liberty. And liberty is absolutely worth protecting. Our founders pledged their very lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor defending it. So must we. Absolutely right. You have to understand what's going on. They want to take our rights away, and they're using the beer buck to take our rights away. And now they're going after our Second Amendment by illegally trying to install a bill called H.R. 127. And the H.R. 1 Bill 2 is unconstitutional and illegal, and we should definitely fend against that. Absolutely. If you want to be a free man, woman, and child in this country, you need to vote these kind of people out of the offices that they possess at the next election, which will be in 2 years. Get them out of there. Seriously, get them out of there. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to look for their actions. And if you see or feel or hear anything that is going against your freedom as a human being, your inalienable rights to be a free person, the pursuit of happiness, you need to vote them out. Get rid of them. And it doesn't need to be done violently. Political violence is not justifiable. Unfortunately, in some cases, you would think that it's okay to just foment a revolution, but it comes with a lot of casualties. None needed casualties. Casualties should only be in defending yourself against a domestic or foreign enemy. But political violence, just because you are displeased with something, that's not okay. It's simply not okay. We have other means to get rid of these people that is encroaching on our freedom, that don't involve violence. Violence is the last resort. It is only to be used as defense, not as an attack. And that's exactly what Trump also did, what they were trying to do, a second impeachment of him, unconstitutional again. He clearly, and I heard that tape myself, he clearly told people to go home in peace. He never said to them that they should just go ahead. Never. And most of those people that were there on January 6th were Antifa dressed up as MAGA supporters. It's been long in the planning. They want the conservatives to look bad. In reality, the conservatives are the backbone of this country. because we hold to our Constitution. That ensures our freedom. The others don't. And honestly, they couldn't give a rat's butt about you. All they want is power, and absolute power, in the most despotic way possible. And if we look upon what's going on now with the negotiations again with China, you can clearly see where we are going. We have a man in office who is sucking up to China. And in principle, it is treason. But who's going to sue him? No one. Because allegedly he is the most powerful man in the world, and the man can't remember what he said 5 minutes ago. But he's a clear China lover. No question about it. I can show you why. I can find it. It's not difficult to find what he's exactly saying. So the link to that will be below. But this next little segment, you need to hear. Really need to listen. Over and out. God bless you.
I'm of the opinion that what we saw yesterday was very much by design, that we did have agent provocateurs, and I'm of the opinion that you're one of them.
Interesting. Really interesting on that. Why do you think I'm one of them?
It's because your father is. Your father's psyops, man.
So, you've met my dad, okay? So...
Kind of further elaborates my point.
Just explain to you, because I know people are going to storm the Capitol. I'm on chats, I'm on underground chats, like, I have my resources. There's not me, but I have people, right? And I'm not saying some fucking pop type shit. I'm saying my people in my organization, Insurgents USA, was a civil rights group that is Black Lives Matter, or if you want to label Antifa, because Trump wants to label Antifa, but I label myself as Insurgents USA, but for people's context, right? Yeah, they are in chats. They can easily give me information on what's going on, and same with everybody else. But it's a collective of people. You can disassociate yourself. I have John Sullivan. I have Jaden X. That separates. I have Insurgents USA, civil rights organization. So it separates I separate my identity based on the specific role that I'm playing, right?
Is there really a separation?
There is a separation. There is a separation for sure, because I can't be in a crowd full of Trump supporters and say fuck the police or say the things that I would during my regular activism.